WEEI.com. Tommy Curran, how we doing this week?
Hey, how are you?
Now that better not be your impression of me. I want to hear your full, because we got a little hint of it, a little taste of it on the Patriots Talk podcast at NBC Sports Boston,
but it could also be a disaster,
which is excellent. You should check it out. I want to hear the actual Jones impression. That felt very half-hearted.
Which one? The one on the pod?
Yeah, I want a real one.
Can I workshop it?
Yeah,
and give it to you next week.
Oh, okay. I see. You need. Yeah, I like to give you homework from time to time.
Get back in the lab. Yeah.
So yeah,
I like to give you homework from time to time.
Tom's a serious performer.
A workshop with Mego. That's how we do all that.
Well, that's what she just said. She's like, that's not the real Tom impression. I'm like, okay, great. Or Jones impression from Tom. So you're over the Bill Mac relationship, as you made very clear last night on Early Edition. And I hear what you're saying. You make a great point. Bill liked Garoppolo and got along with Garoppolo. Bill liked Cam Newton, got along with Cam Newton. Those guys stunk. He was warring with Brady at the end, and they were still able to win Super Bowls, plural. So you think the interaction or lack thereof is overrated?
I do. I think the fixation on it is overrated because, listen, honestly, as I said on television last night, we've gone from the lily pad of he's going to be traded, Bill hates him, how long until Mac gets traded, which we rebuffed, refuted, rebuked. No one really paid a hell of a lot of attention to those factual reports from us. And now we've leapfrogged onto, well, he definitely doesn't like him. I mean,
Tommy, those weren't as interesting. That's the reason why.
Chris Gasper said specifically, I don't think he likes him personally. And I mean, that's just a massive leap to make when you're trying to enter someone's brain. Does he like the fact that he was so disgusted that he acted out, that he went outside the chain of command? No. Was it a showing up? Yes. Does he dislike him? I just find that hard to really fathom. This is the way the offense looked when Tom Brady was here. Bill Belichick divests himself of involvement. He was there for Mac in 2021. He spent a ton of time with Mac, ass pats and everything throughout practices. I don't think he's at that stage right now. It needs to be an O'Brien operation. I think we're fixated on it a little too much.
Tom, I want to move away from the Mac Bill stuff for just a minute because we've heard a lot about what Bill O'Brien is doing at the OTAs that you guys have been able to see. We've heard a lot about where Joe Judge is and where Joe Judge isn't. Have you noticed anything different about what Jones Mego is doing at these practices, or have you heard anything different about his role now that it seems like in the offseason he was elevated one way or another?
No, nothing different is being done by Gerard. And I think the role remains the same. The presumption that at some point he will become most likely the successor remains, in my mind, the scenario that's going to play out. When that happens, whether that's after 2 years or does Bill get an infinite amount of time to chase Don Shula, we'll see. But I think that when we observe practices, it's very much status quo with Jones Mego's role.
All right, I'd like to go back to the Mac Jones Belichick thing.
Have at it.
Thank you. You would agree, Tom, that Bill Belichick has, over the last 2 decades, shown to be a punishing authority figure. Is that fair to say?
Yes, Counselor.
Okay, so then why is it so hard to envision that he may want to be punishing towards Mac Jones and that could affect their working relationship?
Because that's cutting off your nose to spite your face when you're already marching around and jumping up and down on a very thin branch.
But Bill's done that before.
Yeah, when?
Wes Welker in the playoffs. I mean, he's
was that
had
a thin branch? Was that a thin branch in 2010? Look,
did they win the game?
No, but
right,
job security wise,
okay,
right,
fine, that's fair, but yeah.
So there's a different element that's at play here with Bill getting into a pissing contest with a kid who was, or actually not even a pissing contest, with being extremely and overly penal with a kid who was clearly a pretty good player in his rookie year and regressed in large part because of the decisions that Bill made. I mean, we heard what the owner said multiple times about he wants the team to improve, and he also reiterated that he thought it was a bad situation Mac was in. So if Bailey Zappi materializes as the starting quarterback when Mac is having a better than Bailey Zappi camp, Do you think that would be something that Bill would do just because he's a hard taskmaster and wants to prove something?
Honestly, yes. I mean, if you're asking me,
I just don't see the smoking gun evidence.
Well, so,
maybe you could say Rodney Harrison instead of Lawyer Malloy, but Harrison was a better player than Malloy at that juncture.
Well, so I think this dovetails into another conversation you guys had earlier this week on Early Edition. Robert Kraft turns 82. And, you were making a case he's still very motivated and still coming into the office. And you can see him doing that into his 90s. I'm paraphrasing. So if I don't have everything exactly right, correct me. But, we were kind of fleshing out that discussion. And I think Bill Belichick is the real litmus test for Kraft. And it sounds like you're saying he's on a thin branch, which to me is reassuring with Kraft and his urgency and motivation to win another Super Bowl. If Bill goes out and they have a successful season, well, Bill should stay and have some job security. What Robert Kraft shouldn't do, and I don't think it lines up to say he's super motivated to win another Super Bowl and let Bill Belichick just do a death march to Don Shula's wins record. So to me, I think Bill's the real test case for Robert Kraft and how motivated he is and what the urgency level is to win another championship.
I agree. I mean, it's an ongoing, on notice, I want playoff wins. They didn't even come close to that last year. Now, the landscape, and you played the sound earlier this hour, in the AFC East has changed, and Robert Kraft acknowledges that. If you have a 10-7 team that looks really good and happens to not qualify for the playoffs or win a playoff game, is that an asterisk attached? And it's another year for Bill? I would imagine so, but 7-10 would be, if they come in right around where Vegas says, I think Robert Kraft is checking his watch and saying, do we want to keep doing this?
Tom, I don't know if you saw this list from ESPN. They were ranking, quote, team cores, the top 5 players on each team. So you're higher on the Patriots than some others in the market. If the Patriots' sum is better than its parts as a team, how do they get there? What's the blueprint for getting to that?
Getting to having a better core, or getting to proving that they're better than their
proving that they're better than maybe their individual talent in some of these rankings?
They can't be as situationally moronic as they were last year at so many different junctures. They have to get plays in on time. They have to convert in the red zone. They have to have a cogent plan offensively. They're better and more highly paid players, like $10 million a year. Excuse me, Isaiah Wynn at right tackle has to play like that. He's not here, obviously, but they were better than the sum of their parts throughout most of the 2000s. And you would contend, I think, as well, that aside from Brady, Gronk, I don't know if I want to go down that road. 2018, they were kind of better than the sum of their parts. They still had Stephon Gilmore and some very good players on defense, Hightower included. Their core was a hell of a lot better then. But as you guys know, this isn't light dawning on Marblehead. We've talked about the drafts from 13 through 20 that yielded very little. They cashed in with Stevenson. I mean, a lot of the guys who are in their top 5 now were taken in the last few years, and they're still not what we would call Pro Bowl players. Stevenson, Onwenu, Uche, Duggar, Jones, those, and Judon obviously was a signing, but if you don't have any yield from your young players coming up and you do that poorly in personnel and drafting, then it's going to be really easy to say, I'm not sure if they have 5 core players, any of whom are a layup for the Pro Bowl. That's what's troubling, is they don't have Pro Bowl players. Never mind all pro.
Yeah, it's Judon and that's it.
In the top 10. Like Barmore might be in the top 10 at his position, possibly.
Why is he punching people then?
In non-contact practices.
Yeah.
Got an edge to him.
Yep. Stevenson's probably top 10, right? He's probably top 10.
Stevenson,
back.
I would say Stevenson is, yeah. So they've got some top 10 players. I would say Duggar is probably nosing around the top 10 safeties in the NFL. But that's all guys that they've acquired in the last few years, and none of whom carried over from the previous period of time, whether they aged out, weren't re-signed, or were just swings and misses. So they're suffering. So now they have to be, 10 tiny horses better than one big horse, whatever the hell that thing is.
Yeah.
I think it's ducks.
Okay.
Yeah, ducks, horses, whatever they are. It's not working out so well for him, at least in that one exercise over at ESPN. He's Tommy Curran. You can check out his work at NBC
Can we do
Sports
another
Boston.
15 minutes? We haven't even gotten warmed up.
Tom, when are you getting in here
Yeah,
for
that's
an
a good
hour?
question. When are you? Yeah, you got to have your impersonation worked out by the time you come in for an hour in studio. That's true.
You got a pretty good bass going though. I don't know if I can get that well.
I was trying to flex there at the end of the interview. He's Tommy Curran. Check him out at NBC Sports Boston. He'll join us in studio at some point for an hour. We can really stretch out our legs. And Tom, we'll talk to you next week.
All right, guys. Have a great weekend.
All right. Tommy Curran, as all our guests, joins us on the Harbor One hotline. He joins us every week at 3:30 on Thursdays here on Jones and Mego with Arcan on WEEI.